Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Mainline Unitarian Church. It's good to have you with us this morning. My name is Joe Lipton, and I am privileged to serve on the board as the treasurer of the Board of Trustees. Our worship this morning will be led by Interim Senior Minister, Reverend Dr. That's a lot of words, David Messner, our Director of Religious Education, Dawn Starr, Lifetime Religious Education, Dawn Starr Saraz Borchelt, music by the fabulous Lisa Breck, who is on loan from Schrodinger's cats, or unless she's going out on her own. And Tina Adams is our worship associate this morning. We are Unitarian Universalists. Our denomination was formed by the merger of Unitarianism, which holds that God is one, and Universalism, which tells us that whatever our ultimate destiny may be, we will share in it equally. We wish for a world where nations shall not lift up sword against nation, nor study war anymore. We wish for a world where people are not treated differently because of their race, their religion, their gender, their age, their marital status, their skin color, the people they love, their profession, or their politics. We wish for a world that affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person and ensures basic human rights for everyone, everywhere. I'd like to extend an especially warm greeting to those of you who are visiting us today. We're delighted that you're here and hope you find your time with us well spent. After the service, we encourage visitors to join us for coffee and tea in the fireside room across the hall. We look forward to meeting you and getting acquainted. More information is available about Unitarian Universalism and Mainline Unitarian Church at the welcome table in the lobby. There are quite a few announcements this morning. In addition to those in the order of service, I am simply the messenger. The first announcement is required by our bylaws. And it has to do with our annual meeting, which will be held Sunday, June 11th, 2023 at 11:30 a.m. following the service. The meeting will be conducted in person, and all members are encouraged to attend. Members who signed the book in the 30 days preceding the meeting are not eligible to vote. However, you are welcome to join us. We need 100 voting members in attendance in order to complete all of our scheduled business. We cannot pass the modifications to 3 bylaws without 100 bodies in the room. The meeting agenda is as follows. Curtis Heckelman will serve as moderator. We will hear from Interim Senior Minister David Messner, Board President Yasara Antar, Executive Director Rich Fritzen, and Leslie Bass, Chair of our Nominating Committee. We will vote on the 2023-2024 budget, the slate of candidates for the Board of Trustees. Please vote for Joe. The slate of candidates for the Nominating Committee, and 3 amendments to the bylaws. There will be time available for questions before each vote. If you haven't already, you will be receiving a package of relevant information. There will be a question and answer session following next week's service, June 4th, to discuss the budget and bylaw changes. Okay, that's the official business. MLUC's Environmental Justice Team has thus far connected with 6 other faith communities who have agreed to join us for a single-use plastics challenge as part of the International Plastics Free July campaign. We need to sign up to join the challenge to use less single-use plastic in our lives. The team has information and a sign-up station in the atrium after the service. Please pop over, learn more, and join in. Following today's service at 11:15, there will be a gathering of UU 101 for those of you who are newcomers. June is Pride Month, and MLUC is taking part in 3 events. Sign up in the atrium or on the sign up Genius for either the Delaware County Parade or attending tables in both Phoenixville and Narberth. Next Sunday is Music Sunday. If you haven't attended a Music Sunday, I highly encourage you to do so. It's a special morning. Rich Fritzen claims that he is retiring on June 30th. We'll see about that. Please join us for coffee hour on June 11th after the service and before the annual meeting at 11:30 to wish Rich well on his retirement. We will celebrate his service and share an abbreviated goodbye, whatever that means. Stop in and have some cake before you return to the main reading room for the annual meeting. Information about these and other events is available on our website, mluc.org. Now, if you kindly silence your gadgetry, our service will begin with the prelude.
I'm not the prelude, but I am the next thing. I think the reason Rich's celebration is abbreviated is because the best present we could give Rich for his retirement is for 100 people to show up for the annual meeting so we can get stuff done. I want to welcome Megan Rose today. She's in the back, so Megan, if you want to stand up and say hello. She is one of our guest summer faith development teachers starting today. She's the daughter of Ron and Joanne Rose, and she's a teacher at Westtown, a Quaker school in Westchester. And she's here this summer because she has been learning the Lenape language from Adam Waterbear DePaul and grandmother Shelley DePaul, who are members of the Lenape Nation of Pennsylvania. And she's going to be teaching her kids about that and engaging them in creative projects that will help remind all of us that we are on Lenape land. Welcome, Megan. And I know an announcement already got made about the Pride events, but next Saturday is the Delco Parade in Media, and we would really like some more people to sign up for that because right now we have 2 fearless leaders and no marchers. So we need some marchers. And in preparation for that, on Wednesday evening from 6 to 8, we're going to be making posters, signs to carry in the parade. So come on out. And with that, we will do our mission statement. Do you want to do it or do you want me to do it? I'll do it. Okay. Mission statement. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
We light this chalice to ignite the love that already exists in all of us. As we look at the flame, we are reminded that we always have access to enduring love and infinite light. Let it continue to glow within us and expand outward and feel its presence always.
When you just give love and never get love, you better let love depart. I know it's so, and yet I know I can't get you out of my heart. You made me leave my happy home. You took my love and now you're gone. since I fell for you. Oh, love brings such misery and pain. I know I'll never be the same since I fell for you. Well, it's too bad and it's too sad, but I'm in love with you. First you love me, then you snub me, but what can I do? I'm still in love with you. You made me leave my happy home. You took my love and now you're gone. Since I fell for you, oh, love brings such misery and pain. I know I'll never be the same since I fell for you. Well, it's too bad and it's too sad, but I'm in love with you. First you love me, then you snub me, but what can I do? I'm still in love with you. I guess I'll never see the light. I get these blues most every night since I fell for you. Since I fell for you.
Welcome. Enter this house because it is your home. Stop at the threshold and shake the dust off your feet. Dust carried from a world that does not always listen well. Welcome. Enter this house because it is your home. You may find that the altar here is empty, for decoration is not its purpose. Come lay down your weariness, lay down your failures and disappointments, lay down your hurts and betrayals. They bear no currency in this house. Then gather up your dreams. Bring forward your hopes, give them the blessing of light and air and the power of living witness. Take up now the work of the Spirit, for this shelter is for the making and remaking of souls. This shelter is for the making and remaking of lives. Let us begin again this great human vocation of ours. Come, let us worship together. And if you would rise in body or in spirit, we're going to join together in hymn number 389, your great hymnal, and it's up on.
We will sing this twice. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
This is the spot, this is the time for all ages in our service. That often makes me laugh because it's my hope that all of our service is suitable for all ages, and I have a hope that all ages would want to come. In this, each year we pause in the cycle of the year to do, what's it say? Volunteer recognition. I've been working with those two words because I don't feel like the things we do at church is volunteer work. I know it is. I know it's work. I know you're electing to do it. I know you're not getting paid for it. That all makes sense to me. But there's something else because you're not volunteering. It's like volunteering at home to make supper. You're volunteering in a way, but you're a part of a family making what's necessary to continue as a family. I think of the things that we all do in this church as church making together, co-creating together. And this practice of gratitude, which happens more than just this once a year, but on this one time a year, we maybe expand the scope of what we feel grateful for. That's a lot of what we do in church, is stretch and notice the breadth of blessings that have been bestowed upon us this year by way of seen and unseen labors of all of you, all of us. I was filled with gratitude. This doesn't really count as volunteerism, but I was saving it, that I realized I asked Lisa to come here and go solo because I so enjoy hearing her sing. It's so beautiful, and she's so game to do that. And it was sort of, I was thinking it was like Janis Joplin and the Holding Company, and so I didn't want the S-Cats to be mad at me like the Holding Company or something like that, but it's such a blessing to have you singing here today. It's really beautiful. And Tina, without missing a beat, I said, would you write our chalice lighting? We have a weekly call, and she's like, oh, what should I read? I was like, just write something, would you? And then she wrote something beautiful for us, original for our book. So for the gifts of those who respond to the invitation for volunteering, let me hold up 2 exemplars to begin. Next, what I'd like to do are name a few of the things that are ongoing in the work of doing churching. You know, it's not work for the church. It is the church through the ministries which you conduct. I'm going to go down this list, and you have a choice. If you're involved in one of the things, as I go down the list, you can stand up, or you can make a little whooping noise, like a little woo, or like you can choose your noise, but you can make a little bit of noise. I want to say thank you. First, starting at the governance level, I want to say thank you to the Board of Trustees. You have been valiant, and you have been diligent, and you have been figuring out how to work together. I want to call out Yasara Antar, who is the chair of our Board of Trustees, was just elected to be chair of our Board of Trustees next year, and continue the good work you all are doing. You can go woo, like you can cheer a little bit for that. You'll notice no one owned up to being on the Board of Trustees. I mean, I'm staring at Joe Lipton right here. He didn't make a whoop or a peep. Okay, we'll get it. I want to thank the nominating committee, Leslie and the whole team, for continuing to entrap and ensnare people into the life of the church. I want to thank the folks who are getting ready right now to go serve at General Assembly as delegates. Do we have delegates in the room? I want to see some hands in the air. Thank you. Thank you, Rich Fritzen. Rich Fritzen, in his last days of service, he's going to go carry the flag for us there. I want to thank the folks on the Finance Committee and the Endowment Committee. These are the dragons guarding our treasure. Are you here today? And I thank you for what you're doing to create the future of the place. I want to thank those who organized and led our Seder this year, a fantastic gathering and event. I want to thank those who lead small group ministries. Now, and I want to thank everyone. When we talk about church making, it's not just who lead them, but those who co-create those ministries. How many people in this room are in a small group ministry? Woo! Okay, you can make noise too. Like, I'm worried about the people on Zoom, on YouTube. Anyway, though, I wanted to shout out for a minute Carl Stevens, who for many years led the small group ministry program, coordinated those teams, and nurtured its growth. And he handed it off this year. Dawn Starr is taking it from this year, but he did such a great thing for this church. I also wanted to thank Jean Gall, if I'm getting it right, who's been working and crafting packets from packets and materials for these teams for years. So I'm missing people as I do it, but there are people who stand out in my mind of the unseen service. Going on, I want to thank the Meditation Steering Committee and the Meditation Group leaders. Before service, after service, this is absolutely essential spiritual practice. Loci, these are locuses of spiritual practice in this church that are absolutely critical. And, meditators, they don't shout a lot. And they're very quiet. You might not know they're there. But just a wonderful gift. And I encourage you to come early or stay late to have a meditation time with that group. I want to thank all of the book group facilitators, some of which have been going on for years. Any book groupies? Book groupies, there we go. Book groupies out there. I want to thank those who organize the folk sing. Thank you very much for bringing together voices. Are we back in person with the folk sing? Yes. Back live in person. You kept it going for years through the pandemic. I want to thank the lecture lunches team. Is Jean here? Woo! Jean, keeping lecture lunches going. I want to thank Wolfgang. Is Wolfgang? Wolfgang's here. Oh my gosh. The dynamic duo. There are more people I'm leaving out. But if you haven't been coming to the lecture lunches or the extraordinary lunches with lectures on the side, fabulous. Please start doing that. That was a men's lunch at some time, right? It was a retired men's lunch. Well, we have broken that open. You no longer be a man, and I encourage you all to go there. I want to thank the environmental justice team. I've given up plastic for the month of July. Pam Costi, somewhere here in the room. I think, there we go. In the room and in the lobby, you'll look at that. Let's figure out how to go plastic-free together. I want to thank all the folks on the partner church team. Barbara, is Barbara here? There we go. There's Jane. I said, woo! That's wonderful. I want to thank the folks on the UU. Well, this is I'm going to say on our reproductive justice team. Is Judy here? You're here. Is Judy here? I'm here. You're here. Yes. Dan is here. Absolutely. I wanted to give a shout out to Dana. I want to give a shout out to Judy and thank her for her leadership. In absentia, I give a shout out to our graduated ministerial intern Caroline Bright for her work to organize reproductive justice there. Service in the Norristown Hospitality Center. I think Craig Farr is on a safari this year. Is Elizabeth in the back? Yes, wonderful. Continue our work of service there. The Family Promise team, Bob and Donna, are you around? Let's give a round of applause for Bob and Donna. I want to thank our membership team and the welcome table team and the ushers team. Why do I say those folks together? Because I see them as a coordinated network of receiving, embracing, and encouraging here on Sunday morning in particular. I want to thank our green stripers. We got our green stripers here. Woo! Thank you so much for that. I want to thank, again, Picnic. The Picnic made a resurgent and resplendent return this year. Thank you, Jean, for leading that work. I hope you're planning already for the next one. I want to thank the annual auction committee. I won't get it right, but the roses just come to mind. And Gary Gio, there we go. Thank you. You got to help me. You got to help me with that. I hope you continue. I want to thank the media services team, that back deck, Jay and the Technotrons. I was trying to think of a cute name for you. The Technotron isn't a nice sounding thing. Okay, I take that back. I want to thank the worship visuals team, Yasara and Beth, for what is behind us here all the time, creating beauty in this space. I want to thank the worship committee, all of our worship associates, and the great Michael Cohen for taking that work over this year, grabbing the baton from Dave Hucker. Thank you for that. I want to thank the gardeners. Christy Perry. Christy! Oh, I forgot. I was bringing a pitchfork. After church, we'll get the pitchfork. Bring Christy pitchforks. That's how you show appreciation to a gardener. I want to thank the art group. Kit Burns lead among that. Mary Stromquist there. The tag. What a wonderful way not only just to bring beauty, but to call people in and get them involved. I want to thank all of the folks who have been involved in music in this church. Now, Vincent ain't a volunteer. He's a professional. But I'm going to point to Vincent because his entire swath of the house, for all of those who are bringing their leadership and talents to choir and performance and singing, I give thanks to you. You bring the song to us. Okay, who else do we want to recognize? What have I left out that we ought to be paying attention to? Teachers. Oh my gosh. Who knows where the teachers are? Because I never see them, because I'm always standing here. Thank all of you who are teaching in our program. Thank you for those who are teaching in the coming of age. Thanks to those who are teaching in the OWL program for younger ones. And this year, for the first time, for older ones. What an extraordinary thing and one of the markers of who we are. What else do we want to say thank you for?
The children for bringing us joy.
Say that again. Children. Bless the children. Thank you for making this next generation of church. I frightened a child in the front row. They're like, that's too much. Too much, Pastor. Okay. I thank you all. Yeah. The Afghan support team. The list on that is... And if anyone needs to be taught how to use a computer, Gary is there for you. I wanted to thank, the list on that is so long of all the teams who did that, but I want to give a shout out to Nuala for her work in herding everyone in that project. Eileen from the very start, Jane Lamott and the language, teaching, and the list really goes on, so I can't say enough. I'm leaving somebody out. So. Search committee. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I thought you started talking. I want to thank the entire search. Where's Barbara, captain of that team? Barbara and the entire search committee team. I had yeah. Honestly, I got to see a lot of search teams because I was in search, which is a way to peak, and I was a reference for other people in search, and that's a way to peak. We had simply the best, one of the two best search committees in the country. Let's not alienate anyone too early. I want to thank also, in the time of the interimcy, we have had a transition team working, and I want to thank everyone who is on my transition team. Thank you. That was an enormous gift, and that's Barbara, and that's Ron, and that's Craig, Carolyn, and Paul. Okay, I got you. If I left you off, I'd buy you a dinner. Okay, that's for any of you. Anyone else want to? Okay, wait. The folks who make the coffee, who even knows where the coffee comes from? I want to thank, that's our in-house crew. I want to thank Ron and Eddie and Tom. Come early, stay late, do the work. That's one of the things that they model for us. I want to thank all of you, and if I've missed something, let's talk about it out there. We can add it to this wonderful scroll of life mounted here on the wall, and you all deserve a medal. Thank you again. The Pastoral Care Committee. Yes, I want to thank the Pastoral Care Committee. Shout out to our parish nurse, Ann, but on that team as well, everyone on it. Sally Fritzen is popping to mind. Who else you want to shout out about that? Norma is here and is stalwart on that committee. Betsy is there, stalwart on that committee. And John McDonald. What's that? You can tell this game ain't gonna work, and this doesn't play well on YouTube. So, thank you very much to all the people on the Pastoral Care Committee. We appreciate you. While I'm doing a shout out about Sally Fritzen, she's also been, she's behind the scenes, she's pulling strings, if you don't know it. And I want to thank her for the special Saturday night players and the fun of play readings and things that started in the virtual space and have come into this common space, so her work in driving a lot of our fellowship activities. Okay, with that, you're all awesome. Let's keep making churches. Let's remember who we forgot and shout about them in the coffee hour, and let's continue to grow this place. Thank you.
Each month we select an offering outreach partner, a local charitable organization that we feel is worthy to receive half of our weekly collection to help them with their mission. The recipient of May's offering outreach contribution has been Nancy's House. Nancy's House is a nonprofit organization serving family caregivers. It seeks to create a caring community for caregivers through weekend retreats, online workshops, and support groups. It focuses on promoting caregivers' physical and emotional health and connections with other caregivers. Nancy's House's main goal is to break the isolation and exhaustion that can come with taking care of someone who is chronically ill or disabled. The offering outreach will specifically go to subsidize a caregiver retreat. If watching remotely or making a cashless donation, please follow the instructions on the screen or use the Give link on our church website. The offering will now be gratefully received.
I can feel his heartbeat from 1,000 miles. Heavens open up every time he smiles. When I come to him, that's where I belong. Yeah, I'm running to him like a river song. He gives me love, 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 crazy love. Gives me love, 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 crazy love. Got a fine sense of humor when I'm feeling low down. When I come to him, when the sun goes down. Take away my troubles, take away my grief. Take away my heartache in the night like a thief. He gives me love, 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 crazy love. He gives me love, 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 crazy love. I need him in the daytime. I need him in the night. Wanna throw my arms around him. Kiss him, hug him, kiss him, hug him tight. When I'm returning from so far away, gives me some sweet loving, brightens up my day. Yeah, it makes me feel righteous, yeah, it makes me feel whole. Makes me feel mellow down into my soul. He gives me love, 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 crazy love. He gives me love, 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 crazy love. He gives me love, 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 crazy love. He gives me love, 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 crazy love.
Candles of Community is our ritual of personal sharing and support. After each candle is lit, please join me in saying, "We hold you in our hearts." Let's first light a candle of sorrow for the passing of the illustrious and talented Miss Tina Turner this week. Her personal strength and her music has uplifted and inspired many of us. For Ms. Turner and her family, we hold you in our hearts, always. We light a candle of sorrow and healing for the family of Daphne Fisher, who died on May 21st. Daphne was a member of LMUC from 1976 through 2014, when her daughters moved her out to be with them in Long Beach, California, due to her failing health. For all who knew and will miss Daphne, we hold you in our hearts. Gina Trignani, Don Wilson, and Evan Kirk would like to light a candle to acknowledge the one-year anniversary of Gina's mother's passing on May 26th, 2022, from frontotemporal dementia. She is remembered with love and gratitude. For Gina's son-in-law, Don, and grandson, Evan Kirk, we hold you in our hearts. Gina and Don also light a candle of celebration for their daughter, Devin Wilson, as she moves to the Philadelphia area to begin her studies at Rutgers University in the Physician Assistant Program. Devin and family, we wish you much happiness for this move and this opportunity, and we hold you in our hearts. And for joys, concerns, or sorrows we carry within us that are too deep for words or unspoken, we light another candle. On this Sunday before Memorial Day, there is one great sorrow that we collectively share: the sorrow for those individuals in the armed services who lost their lives in war. Today we remember them and grieve their loss. We remember those who joined the armed services by choice and those who had no choice. We remember those who fought in wars with just cause and those that had no just cause. We remember those who sacrificed their lives for wars they believed in and those who sacrificed their lives for wars they did not. We remember those who have gone missing and were never found. We remember those civilians who have died as collateral damage in wars. We remember the loved ones those lost have left behind. We pray for world leaders that they make wise choices that prevent wars. We pray for those around the world who are currently suffering the ravages of war. We pray for the peacemakers who strive for the end to many conflicts around the world. We remember. We remember. And we pray for peace. Let us do that in silence together.
Oh, summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Well, your daddy's rich and your mama's so good looking. But hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings you're gonna rise up singing. You're gonna spread your wings, and then you take to the sky. But until that morning, ain't nothing gonna harm you. With Daddy and Mammy standing by. With Daddy and Mammy standing by. Happy summer.
Let me begin today in the parable of the sheep and the goats. If you recall this little teaching tale, it speaks to a moment on Judgment Day when it was written, the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed." And here I'm going to paraphrase just a little bit. "For when I needed you, you were nowhere to be found. Go now into eternal punishment." Sorry, Joe. You choose your seats, you take the consequences. But wait, I have good news that my own universalist theology truly has no such merciless divine sorting someday in the future. And I invite you, if you haven't already, to take up that same theological expectation of the eschaton. I have hard news, though, to go with that invitation, that in our this world, here and now religion, Judgment Day is today and every day, and most importantly, we are the ones sitting on the throne. We are the ones relentlessly sitting in judgment upon ourselves and the way that we choose to live our lives. There is more responsibility in this latter picture. I'm not sure it's a relief. I'm not sure it's a recipe for an easy life. In this scripture that I imagine, we can choose a moral measure of our own lives. At the heart of the ethical life advanced by our gospel of love is simple care for one another. And more than that, an unnatural, or at least counterintuitive, preferential disposition toward those whom we would least naturally consider. Very simple thing. Let's just gloss that notion of the stranger for a minute. I often want to say it's not just always the absolute stranger. It's moving just one seat farther sometimes in church. I know if your wife is sitting to your left, I know you have every natural inclination to feed your partner when they hunger, to drive them home, to do a whole list of things. I want to know 3 seats away, does that rule still apply? I want to know 8 rows back with the person that just walks into this house, does that rule apply? And Lord, help us if you cross South Valley Forge Road and there are Episcopalians there worshiping. Does it apply to them as well? Now, we know it does. They're our buddies. But let's keep going. Push the edge. The frontier doesn't start at the farthest possible reach of the person you've never met. It starts with pushing your neighbor one by one, house by house, row by row. How about Norristown? Is that too far to count? Are they too far away to feed? We can stretch. We can go there. And we've learned, I think, through doing that. We've pushed the circle wider. A preferential disposition toward those whom we would least likely naturally consider. Okay, this is all well and fine, especially well and fine from the pulpit on a Sunday morning, but I want to point out that in real life, and this isn't real life exactly, other aspirations are naturally and continuously competing for our attention and our loyalty. Most of the spiritual practice of a good life, most of being a good person, a person of virtue, is having the capacity to pay attention to the right things in a world where there are many distractions. That's what I see. Imagine this field of 1,000 possibilities, 1,000 needs, 1,000 wants, 1,000 lures, 1,000. And how do you pick the one or the 2 or the 3 that are going to be your mission, your points of attention and attendance? That's the problem we have. It is the transgressive nature of our tradition that it will all come down to how we choose, and particularly how we choose to be the servant of the stranger, in the way I've glossed it, in need. So the charge of our tradition is to begin as a servant with a view from the bottom and then work our way up. That is counterflow to all of society. Everything we see on TV, everything we see on social media, which says, pay attention to the top and then see what trickles down. It's overturning the structure not only of society, but it begins with the structure of our own knowing and thinking. So, in this project of being a servant with a view to the bottom, my question today for all of us, but for myself, really, I preach for myself. How come it feels like we so often fail at being there when people need us? How come I worry that I am more goat than sheep in my own life? And sometimes as I look around in the world, I worry that we might be a whole herd, I mean a humanity-wide herd of goats, when more sheep are needed. On the receiving end, I hate to say my personal experience tells me so. At the hardest moments in my life, it seemed like there were very few people around. I don't know if that's been your experience. It can seem that way. When you are sick and hurting, it can feel extra lonely. Even among caring people, it can be lonely. It's a hard truth. In divinity school, it's been a dozen years now, they were teaching about the parish and pastoral care. And everything they described made sense to me. I've been going to church for 40 years. But it wasn't within my experience within the Unitarian Church. I don't remember the Unitarian minister visiting our houses. So bless all my former Unitarian ministers, but the world which was described to me as the pastoral milieu was dissimilar to 40 years of experience in the church. And now, how long has it been? 12 years into pastoral ministry. I see it from another side. And I am honored and thrilled when I am in a position at the right moment to provide ministerial pastoral care. But I am humbled and have been humbled again and again to discover that I'm only there 3% of the time. I am comforted. I am comforted to know that in our best collective version of ourselves, one can always be there, someone, if we are gently paying attention, listening, and extending ourselves just a little bit all the time. It takes a village. It takes a church house to create a world where suffering isn't necessarily a practice in isolation. That's our project. Now, I know people are hurting. I have a better inventory of it probably in this room than in other rooms. But it's not doubt that is a problem in connecting and making people better. It's not general obliviousness to the suffering. Just the other night, I was walking down the street. It was about a year ago now. When I say just the other night, it might have been 1963, you know. I was walking down the street and a man stopped me. We were the only ones on the street. We were crossing over a bridge in opposite directions. And he shouted at me. He said, "Can you help me out?" Maybe 15 feet away. And as he got closer, he figured he'd fill in the backstory. He told me his name was Mark. And he said, "I am from Belize." He kept saying that. "I am from Belize. I am from Belize." And then he lifted his shirt to me and he said, "I have a hernia. Touch right there. Feel it. Go ahead," Mark said. So, of course, John chapter 20 leapt to mind, as I'm sure it did for you. Jesus reappearing to the disciples and commandingly answering Thomas's skepticism. You'll remember he said, "Reach out your hand," right? "Put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." I wondered if Mark had that particular passage in mind, asking me in a way, do you doubt that I am in need? Do you doubt my hunger? Do you doubt my pain? Do you doubt me, brother? Such urgency in his voice, almost commanding it. Did he believe that if I was physically convinced that he carried this pain, that I could not refuse to assist him? Do you think that was the issue? Did you think it was my doubt that was an issue? That we doubt suffering. That's why we don't heal the world. We doubt the world suffers. I don't think that's the case. Now, one hard truth, and I'll confess, church is good for confession, is that Mark from Belize vastly underestimated my capacity to be uncaring. There is truly a part of me that could know he had an excruciating hernia, no doubt, and do nothing but go get dinner, which is what I was on the way of doing myself. The question for me was not about going deeper into his medical chart, right? It was choosing whether I would allow myself in that moment when the program was something different, in that moment to care in a way that translated into action. So here's what I mean about being encouraged to live in a transgressive way. Because we create certain structured patterns that make sense, like we take up a collection, which is a really worthy thing to do, and Nancy's House is a really worthy organization, and you know it's coming, and you're prepared to be generous in the area set aside for being generous. I think of it like entering in, there's a wrestling mat. Okay, I'm going to prepare to wrestle. You're prepared, you do it. The question is, does that practice and that moment of sharing something into the plate translate on a dimly lit street on the way to supper in town when someone approaches you? So, He was still standing there, us alone, him absurdly holding his clothing. At this point, it's up around his neck. And I said to him, no, brother, I believe you because I did. And it's also, there was no way in the world that I wanted to palpate his middle. That was not going to happen on the way to dinner. I'm not a doubting Thomas. I don't think I would have doubted Jesus. I think, as strange as it is to say, as a Unitarian minister, I'm not plagued by doubt in matters of the mysterium. I am the first one when Jesus returns, I will say welcome. I am the first one, and I mean not to trivialize the first comment with the second, that when aliens land, I will receive them as well and say, this is great news. I knew you would get here eventually. I have modest comprehension and insatiable curiosity. Yes, I have those things. But doubt is not the same thing as having a partial picture and wanting to know more. I encourage to play with that in your own theological mind. Is it possible to not know and yet not be yoked with a doubt that holds us back from living as if? I believe that one can have faith commitments and still have questions. I believe indeed that having those commitments will necessarily be generative of those questions. So being a Unitarian is not a state of knowing nothing and wondering much. Being Unitarian, I think, is a state of knowing a heck of a lot and saying, oh my gosh, how little it is and how much more there is yet to discover. It's been more my experience of us. But my disinclination to be there for Mark, which was not born of a debilitating doubt or skepticism, lack of heart. I'm a decent guy, gosh. But my disinclination to be there for Mark leads me to the first reason we sometimes fail to live as we'd hope. We too often, I think, at least in this case, let our inability to do everything for everybody impede our doing anything for somebody. Let us not allow the perfect to be the enemy of the good in caring for one another. I don't know that I can save your life, but I do know I can be present with you for a few minutes. I don't think I can fix your hernia. I don't think that's what we'll be working on together, but I can buy you a sandwich. It was on its face, and as I ran the scenario in my mind, a bizarrely inadequate, instinctive response to all of his evident needs. Shirt up. Would you like a sandwich? Someone says, no, I'm bleeding. It wasn't exactly what I said, but would you like a sandwich? Sometimes, for me, maybe I'll speak for myself, you can choose to join in or not. Sometimes we are too shy at looking to be the fool, offering a sandwich when someone is in an evident state of crisis and collapse. Sometimes we are too shy to be the foolish chaplain who shows up by your side and says, you want to hold my hand and pray? I'm dying. You want to hold my hand and pray? Are we too shy to be the fool that is willing to bear gifts to those who are in need? Because the gifts we have at times seem so modest. I think of this all the time. So much of what we do in church, it seems so modest. Teach a little Sunday school class, 6 kids come, teach them a little moral story. Make clay animals. How small is that? How shy are we to offer that up? Prepare simple food. Make the coffee so a newcomer has something to drink. Call to check in on someone who we haven't seen at church in 3 weeks. Make chicken for lunch. How small are these gifts? And how shy are we to say, I can do that. I can pray, I can make chicken, I can make phone calls, I can decorate the wall, I can help you move those chairs. On this day, I want us to be courageously foolish, To see the enormity of the need in the world or the enormity of the need in a single person and to say, I can't do everything. I can't fix everything, but I can do something. And I'm offering it, not next week, I'm offering it now. Right now. Can I give you this thing? Can I sing you this song? Can I hold your hand? Can I take you to coffee hour? Can I give you a ride home? Can I invite you to my church? Can I introduce you to someone I think you'll like? Can I show you the art I made in the atrium? The list goes on. Start preparing to give the gift you have right now because you witness the need right here. And most of the time, we don't walk up to one another lifting our shirts. See my scars. See my pain. See the gaping hole. That's not what we do. We're taught to do exactly the opposite. Cover it up, wrap it up, put on a nice suit, smile and don't show it to the good people at church. Most of all, don't show it to the good people at church. Not a place to bring your suffering. And so I want to say to you that our needs will often go unmet. And loved ones are destined to fail from time to time in the call to be there when they are really needed. We are more likely to see the blatant need of strangers than to hear the quietly muffled cries of those closest to us. I want to offer the lament that too often I have heard late from people close to me of the pain that they suffer. I think in these cycles of reconnecting with friends, every 5 years, some of us are on the reunion circle. We check in 5 years, and I learn on that moment that in those 5 years they suffered major loss. I hear of death, I hear of divorce, job loss, disability. And they didn't tell me. I get mad at them. Okay, 5 years go by, death, divorce, disability, and I didn't ask them. And I wonder how I could live differently, that I might see the suffering and the need, that I might bear the modest gifts I have upon others. And it's not just time and physical distance that works against us in these matters. There are those who I see every week, and now let me get back real close to home in the parish, who show up every week and never say a word that they are suffering. And how I wish people would feel comfort in the invitation, in the ease to be visible in their struggles. That's a kind of gift too. If coming into this house, instead of dressing up, you would prepare yourself to make visible your struggles. Prepare yourself to receive the gifts that people have to offer, and to offer in exchange what you bring to it. For we are not a world of sufferers and healers. We are not a world of sheep and goats. These binaries, they kill us. You don't show up as a healer or a sufferer. You show up exquisitely as both. And so, my friends, my prayer for us is one that we keep showing up. We keep showing up as whole humans who suffer and who heal, who have the power to cause suffering and have the power to offer some healing. I pray for us that we can see clearly around us people we might not notice, pain we might not recognize as our own, that we might receive and that we might live differently because of it. It's amazing, but we have that power to bring a little light, a little air, and a little life to another who is suffering, imprisoned, or isolated. I want you to leave today with humanity in mind, humanity in heart, and confidence in the humanity that you have to share. May it be so, and amen. We're going to sing together. This Little Light of Mine, number 774432. You don't need to look it up. It's This Little Light of Mine.
We do know this pretty well. Don't bury your head on the screen. I'll feed the words. Just sing. Don't look. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna 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 let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world.
Close your eyes. See if you can feel when the circle is closed. Feel the people around you. As you go from this place, be blessed. But more than that, be a blessing. As you go from this place, I wish that the light of the universe shine upon you. But more than that, I wish that you let your light shine and show the path forward for the people around you. Your loved ones, your family, your friends, and yes, the strangers radiating out as far as the eye can see. Go in peace, go in love. Amen.